Hi everyone. This is day 2 of our silver collection lab. As you can see here, our solutions look different than they did yesterday. So just taking a look at what we have here. Here is from period 3. If I spin this around a little bit, you can see that our silver has collected on our piece of copper. In addition, if you look down here towards the bottom, part of the copper actually fell off. Here is period 4, where similarly we can see some silver forming on our piece of copper. Now, we predicted yesterday how much silver would form. Today, our goal is to figure out how we did. So I think we were supposed to get around, depending on the class, between 2.2 and 2.4 grams of silver. What we are going to do today is filter out the solid silver using the apparatus that you can see behind our 2 beakers to check and see how we did on this lab. What was our percent yield? Meaning we were supposed to get a certain amount and how much silver was actually produced. So how we are going to run this portion, I'm only going to show on camera the filtering process for one of our 2 solutions. So I'm actually going to start with period 3. So you'll see that one live on camera here. So what I have set up right here, ladies and gentlemen, is known as a Buchner funnel apparatus. What this does is allows us to filter a solution faster than simply using gravity. With this hookup on our sink, when I turn on the water, air will be pulled from this tube out of our flask. So the air is going to be getting pulled down. What does that do? That causes any liquid on top of our funnel to be sucked out, leaving us with solid on our piece of filter paper. So here you can see a pre-cut piece of filter paper. I am going to label this with the class period. Now, before we get started, ladies and gentlemen, it is important to write down the mass of this piece of filter paper. So with that being said, I'm looking to see if I have any chalk back here. Okay, I do not. So let's go back up to the front of the classroom, use the same balance that we used yesterday, and get an initial mass of our filter paper. Ultimately, we're going to be weighing our silver on this piece of filter paper. So it's important to know the mass before any silver is on this piece of filter paper. Okay, so period 3 filter paper. Is 0.3855 grams. And I'll put that value in the description of our video in case you didn't hear it as I just said it. Once again, it was 0.3855 grams. All right. Heading back into the back of the classroom. So what I'm going to do is I am going to put our filter paper inside the top of our Buchner funnel apparatus. And I'm going to push it down to ensure that it is covering all of the holes inside our Buchner funnel to ensure that no solid gets through. Now, to make sure that the filter paper stays down better, doesn't come up during this process, I'm going to spray our filter paper with water. Right now that water is sitting in the top of the Buchner funnel. When I turn on the sink, start to see it fall down. Now that our filter paper is wet, it's time to start filtering out some of our silver. So what I'm going to do first is just start dumping some of our blue liquid into our Buchner funnel. Now at this point, some of the solid is starting to collect, but as you can see, a majority still remains inside of the beaker and still hanging onto that piece of copper. So we're getting close now to when I actually have to take the piece of copper out, start spraying the silver off of our piece of copper. Get rid of a little bit more liquid first. Okay, at this point, ladies and gentlemen, I am going to take this piece of copper, take our deionized water, and try to spray off some of our solid silver. Now what I'm seeing here is that we definitely have some unreacted copper floating around in solution. So our results may not be exactly what we expected. Okay, but we can explain that, and once you take a look and see what this silver looks like, you'll be able to see what I'm talking about. So I'm just going to spray this to try to ensure that we have gotten all of our silver off of our piece of copper. I'm now going to add a little bit of water to our flask to try to get this solid silver to pour out onto the filter paper. Last step here, I'm going to use a tool to scrape out as much of our silver as possible. So I'm going to take a brand new rubber policeman, which is essentially, brakes first. Which is essentially just a piece of rubber. So what I'm doing here, ladies and gentlemen, is I'm trying to get our silver to float around in solution so I can simply pour it as opposed to having to scrape it. Last thing that I want to do here, ladies and gentlemen, is pull out any chunks of copper that have slipped into our solution here. So I have a decent sized chunk of copper. I'm going to try to carefully pull out of solution. So that was a piece of copper that I just pulled out. See another small piece, but I don't lose much silver here. Okay. So a couple of pieces of the copper had fallen off. So I wanted to pull those out to ensure that we had more accurate results. So now that we have filtered out all of our silver, you can see what's left inside of the Buchner funnel, which is all of our solid silver product. Now, it's a little bit hard to tell right now, but there is some copper impurity in this sample. So we might not get exactly what we expected in terms of our mass of silver, but we do have an explanation for why that is the case. Now, we are going to have to wait until tomorrow in order to get our final mass of silver. Here's why. Right now, our silver, as well as our filter paper, is wet. We need to wait for this to dry in order to take our final mass. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to carefully use our forceps to pull the silver out and put it onto a paper towel. So we can let this dry overnight and get the final mass tomorrow when you arrive to class.